What's up, everybody? How we doing? Happy Friday, Friday the 13th. That's a fun one, right? Who knows? I know there's a few of them every year, but you know, I don't believe in any of that nonsense. But hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everyone had a great week. Excited for the weekend coming up. And depending on where you're watching from and when, you might already be in the weekend. So congrats. Yeah, we've got a great show, great live stream lined up for you. If this is your first time, I've been doing these for about a year now, and every single week I will come on and do a live stream from data to dashboard, as I kind of say, to walk you through the most recent Workout Wednesday challenge of that week. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're dealing with. We got a challenge from Luke Stanky, and we're going to be doing a kind of an interesting table. So it's a table of values, but we're also incorporating some data viz into the table. So we've got pie charts, and we've got a bar chart, and we've got a few other metrics in there as well. So that's what we have to create. And so let's do a quick overview. So this is the screenshot. Here are the requirements. Let's do a quick run through of what we're looking at here. So see if I can glean any information out just by looking at it. So I can tell that these are values. Meaning they're not dimensional column headers. They're actually values in some way. So we'll need to figure out how we're going to combine donuts, text, and bars in separate columns. So that'll be interesting. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Calculations don't look too crazy, but like I said, and like he points out here, the big challenge is going to be creating the pie chart, right? So that's going to be, once we figure out this, the rest should pretty much fall in line. So why don't we go ahead and start with pie charts, and let's learn a little bit about them. Let's figure out how to get them, how we can use them, different ways of using them, and then we'll be able to build out this dashboard pretty quickly. So here we go. So I've got Superstore data pulled up already. It's a great data set. Love it. I have seen people use it in other tools because of just how versatile and far-reaching the analysis and analytics can be. So that would be awesome. So here we go. All right, so let's talk about pie charts for a bit. So pie charts are one of the default show me patterns here. I can see that my screen is, or my face is covering it. So let's try and figure that out real quick. Here we go. So pie charts are one of the default, and it's actually pretty high in there. So in the show me palette, pie charts, it says here, this is very important, and this is what, there's a lot of debate out there among the Tableau faithful about the use of pie charts and the use of show me. And, show me will pretty much tell you what you need to be using and what you need on the view in order to create that chart type. So we can see here for pie charts, you must have one or more dimensions and one or two measures, right? So that's what we need. We have to figure out a way to get one or more dimensions and a measure in there in order to build that, right? So additionally, in the marks card, a mark type here is pie chart. So we can just, you can just select that. So let's just build one out. Let's build out a pie chart. Let's talk about it, and then let's try and figure out how we can do that for what we're trying to do, right? So if I wanted to show the percent of orders by region here, right, as just a single pie chart, right? We're not getting crazy right now. just a single pie chart. What we can do is we would just take our region, throw it onto color. You can see I'll make this bigger, and I'll also move my head back to where it was. And it looks good. All right. So you can see here we've got 4 quadrants here, one for each, but now what we need to do is we need to figure out the angle, right? So again, we'll figure out the metrics of the specific metrics. We're just fundamentally talking about a pie chart right now. So if I drag sales and I drag it to angle, it's going to draw an angle for each slice of the pie for each region for sales, right? So if I wanted to, so if we do that, right, let's calculate number of orders, and that's just going to be a count D of order ID. Those are the total number of orders. And now if I put that on angle, you can see I get the same kind of swirl here, right? And then if I wanted to do percent of total, then I would just change this to a quick table calc, percent of total. Obviously the values don't change, or the angles don't change, but the values do, right? So we got exactly what we would expect here. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how we're going to, so now what happens, right? So I've got a region, I've got my dimension. If we look over here at show me again, I have my dimension, I have my measure, right? But you can see here that's just one. So if I try and put this onto rows, right? Now it's saying, I've split everything out, right? I've changed the level of detail, right? In this view. And as you can see here, even the percentages are off now because obviously 100% of the central orders are comprised of the central orders, right? But you can do, table down, and now we get our same percentages, but we don't get that angle. So the reason why is we kind of lose that thing. But this is where, things you kind of have to think creatively about Tableau. And there's a very special dimension in Tableau that comes with every single data source, and that is measure names. So measure names is a dimension. It will split, different things, right? It is a functional dimension, right? So essentially, and I've already created what we're going to do for how we're going to create the percent of total for each one, right? So that's one half. And you remember on the pie chart it said I could use 1 or 2 measures, right? So I'm thinking that this will be that 23% is the percent of total, and then the other, right? Because it has to get to 100%, right? So if we just take 1 minus that, right, that would give us the other percentage. And then we use measure names to stratify each pie chart. So let's do that. So let's create a calculation. Actually, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to hold down my command key. I'm on a Mac. Hold my command key and drag this table calc into my data window, drop it, and it makes a calculation. And so this is going to be the percent of orders. And I'm going to go in here and change it. And it says table down. That's great. And so this is number of orders. That's count distinctive orders divided by the total, right? So total is a table calculation, and it calculates the totals. These are essentially, when you go to analysis and you show totals and subtotals, that is what's happening in the background, right? It's wrapping this table calculation on it, and then you change the scope and direction for grand totals or subtotals, pane or table, right? So that's what we're doing. We're taking the total, and then it says we're summarizing the values from table down. Table down works because we're showing our values going down the table. If we wanted to be precise, we could go in here to compute using, click on advanced, come down here to region, add that into addressing, click OK, and now it says total summarized values for region. And I still get the same answer, right? So that's our one value. Now what we need to do is we need to calculate the other, which is really going to be very simple, and that's just going to be I'll just call this non-region orders, right? So these are all other orders, all other percent of orders. And that's just going to be 1 minus percent of orders. Click on that. Now we have two measures. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on measure names. We're going to change things a little bit. Measure names, percent of orders, and all other orders. And measure names is now going to be on color. And it's okay. Everything changed blue, but that's okay because I don't have anything on measure names. You can see I don't have a value. I haven't put values on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take measure values and I'm going to drag that onto angle. And things don't look right. And that's okay. Things don't have to look right immediately. Let's just make sure that we're percent of orders. And we have these all other orders, right? And all other orders are also on region. Now, boom, look at that. When you change the scope and direction of your table calculations to what they should be, everything works. So now you can see here we've got 27 for central, 28 for east, 16 for south, and 32 for west. So let's go ahead, and also what I'm going to do here, since I'm going to use this calculation in other fields, let's go ahead and change the number format to a percentage, but we don't want any decimal points. Okay, and it doesn't matter what we do, and I think we're going to be turning off tooltips, so let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and change our color here. And we've got percent of orders. The percent of orders is going to be blue. All others is going to be this kind of gray color. I'd like to make it really muted. So we'll do that. You can see here that I get my things here. Now I'm also going to add a white border so you can kind of really see. Yeah, not that. We'll do that. That looks good. Okay, then let's see what else are we doing here. Let's increase the overall size of these. Whoa, that's a little bit too much. There we go. That looks good. Now we just need to make... So now we've got our pie charts, right? We've got all of our pie charts. So now we just need to figure out how we're going to get them in different columns, right? And this is all one sheet. So Luke did specify one sheet. One sheet and a few text boxes is what he says. So that's what we're going to do. So now we're going to use so the first thing, this is a great way to use measure names and measure values to create pie charts. And Sebastian, I see your comment. I'll address it in just a little bit. I thank you for joining. Appreciate it. And I'll get to that in just a second. So let's talk about what we're going to do here. Now, what we need to do, so because we have 4 different distinct columns of values, right? What we need to do is we need to be able to put them in different columns. And the way that you put them into different columns is you basically just create a placeholder column, a placeholder measure. And now I'm just going to call this placeholder. And it's just going to be min, because I want it to be one value, 0.0. And the reason I want 0.0 and not just 0 is because I want it to be a float in case I need to, in case I need to edit some of the axes. You can just understand that, that floating is going to be a lot easier to get more precise axis rulers or that kind of thing. So make it a float, make it a min, so it's already aggregated to just be one value. So now I have my placeholder. Where'd it go? Yeah. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I click the X instead of apply, and then that. I don't know if you know this or not, but clicking the X and not clicking apply will never get you what you want. It'll always go away. So let's do 0.0 again. Min. Click OK. There we go. All right. So now I'm just going to move this up here, and now you can see I've got an axis. Right? And now what I can do, I'll just create another one. I'll just keep putting this up here. Right? And so you can see here in the we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different columns. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 placeholders. Right? So, and they're not all going to be pi. But, so I'm going to remove this. It's not going to be a pi. This one's actually a shape. Or not a shape, it's text. This one is the pi. This one is text again. And we'll get rid of our measure names and measure values on that one. This one's actually going to be a bar. Measure names, measure values. Get rid of them there. All right, so there's our bars, there's our text, there's our pies, and there's our text there. Now, what we're going to do, we have, let's see, total orders, number of orders. So we have number of orders. We're just going to drag this and put it on, find our first mark column, take number of orders, put it on text. All right, and there we go. That's one. We'll clean up our formatting in just a bit. So the other text we've already got that. Our total sales is just going to be our sales columns, total sales. Just like that. And then our bars, so we'll get to that later. So Tim asked a great question. What do we do about donuts, right? Well, as you can see, I've created pies. But what we actually have here are donuts. And what is a donut chart? A donut chart is nothing more than a pie chart with a circle on top of it. So the way that we do that is we're actually going to duplicate. So Tim asked if we need to duplicate the region field to create the hollow donut chart. I like where your head's at. I like where you're going. We do have to duplicate something, but it's not the region. It is the placeholder. We're just going to put another placeholder. I'm just going to hold down my command key and I'm going to click on the pie chart placeholder, and I'm just going to drag another one in between, right? So we get that, right? And now I'm actually going to call this a circle. I'm going to change it to white. I'm going to put my percent of orders on label. Change that to bold, and our alignment is going to be in the center on the center. And then I'm going to drop the size of this pie chart, or this donut, this circle. I'm going to drop it a little bit. And then I'm just going to make this. So there's two ways that you can. So then I'm going to make it a dual axis, right? And what you need to think when you see, or there's a few different ways you can make dual axes, right? Especially when you've got a lot of different, marks on here, a lot of different columns. Who's going to dual with who, right? There's a couple different ways you can do it. One is the drag and drop method. So you can go down here. I want to make this mark be a dual axis with this mark. So you can go down here into the axis label and you get this little triangle and you get this little crosshair. Click and drag, and now you can just click and drag and you can put it on top of the axis that you want it to dual with, right? So I could put it here, 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 or here. It could go anywhere, right? But I want it here, so I'm going to drop it there. And there we've got our donut, right? Now, let's go back. Let's talk about the other way that you can do it. The other way, it's probably the most easiest to understand, right? Because it's drag and drop and it's visual. But the other way that you can do this is you can actually right-click on a pill up in your columns, and when you right-click at the context menu, you can see you have a dual axis option. So this one, it will always dual with, if you click this option, it will always dual with the one right next to it, right? It'll always be the one to the left. It'll always dual axis to the one to the left. If you do the drag and drop method, you can drop it anywhere. But if you do the context menu, then it will always dual axis with the left measure. So if we click that, you can see, and then you get visually, how do you know that these are dual axis? Well, you can see here the rounded corners of the pills on either end are stuck together, right? So that lets you know visually that you've got a dual axis here. All right. Now so we've got our donuts, we've got our values, now we just need to figure out our bars. Our bars are the average order size in sales, right? So how are we going to do that? Well, there's a few different ways we could do that. We could just create a fixed calculation, and we could do you could do fixed on order ID. So there's a few different ways. I'll talk through each one, right? So the first one, fixed on order ID, sum sales. So what we're doing here is for each order ID, sum the sales, right? Then, so from here, so let's look at this, right? So let's build this out one at a time. So we've got sales per order ID. If I drag to, well, actually, now that I think about this, I don't need this placeholder. I don't need a placeholder here because I can just add. I'll just add my value to the end, and I'll make it, instead of pi, I'll make it a bar, and there we go. Right? Now, let's look at these values though. $503,000, $601,000. What's happening? Well, what it's doing is it's summing up every single order ID, right? And you can see here that it's actually doing the exact same value as our total sum of sales, right? So that's not quite what we want. So what if I do and I change this aggregation to average? And there we go, right? So Let's do the other way, right? So if I do sales, just for the sake of doing this, let's do sales, change it to a bar, and then I change it to average. And then I'll add my placeholder here. You can see my values don't match. These do not equal. Why is that? Because we need to understand we need to understand the granularity of our data set. Our data set is not at the order ID level, right? Our Superstore sales is at the product. One row of data includes a product sold in an order, right? So what's happening? So this is the average product sales per region, right? So if we wanted to, so we need to aggregate up to the order ID level and then do an average across the region, right? So that's how that works. Let's see. I think we have, let's do, I don't think he added, yeah, we do add that. All right, so sales order ID, default properties, number format, currency, 0 decimal places. And there we go. Right, now we can just change this to blue. And now now we've got everything we need, right? So now we just need to do a little bit of formatting and do some sizing and we're good to go. So format, take off our grid lines. Oh, I did say that I was going to show you a different way to do the average, orders per sales. So the other way that you can, whoop, I didn't mean to do that. So the other way that you can do it is fixed on order ID sum of sales. The way that I did it, or another way that you could do it, duplicate. We'll go in here and we'll do include. Include what? Well, we're going to include order ID. And we'll take that. Let's drop it onto label here too. Yeah, so both work. They both work, right? What's the difference? Why would you use fixed over include or exclude? Well, simply put, exclude or include is at a lower it happens lower in the order of operations. So it will automatically inherit all filters applied to this sheet if you use include. If it's a fixed calculation, then you've got to question about whether or not your dimension filters need to be context filters and all that kind of thing, right? So while they both work, there are differences, and depending on how complex your other calculations are or how complex your data source is, certainly we know that fixed calculations are they're a heavy hit to performance. Can be, right, depending on their complexity. So just keep that in mind, right? So that's kind of what you can. Those are two ways of doing kind of an average order per sale or average sales per order for that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's continue with our formatting here. So we've turned off our grid lines. Actually, we don't want to. We want to add back our row, and we want to add a level, so we have a different row for everything. But we do want to remove our column dividers, so that's what we did there. Next thing we want to do, we're going to clean up all of these lines, so we don't want any lines. Don't want 0 lines, don't want any of that. Next thing is I'm going to remove my headers altogether. And I'm going to remove the row labels, right? So now we'll go here, and what else? I think we'll get to that. Let's go build our dashboard. I think it's 700 by 300 is what he said. Right? I think that's what he said. Yep, 7 by 3. Okay. Drag this on here. Remove that. Delete. Yep. Let's drop the. Let's hide our title. And let's drop the size of the bars. Whoop. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. Very good. I like that. Good donuts. Like that. Now we need to get our headers. And he did say that we could use a few text boxes. And he did say a few. So let's drag a horizontal up here. Actually, we're going to drag a vertical. Always, always, always try your best to build your your container dashboards. Not tiled. We don't use tiled. We do not use tiled. We use containers. So try and add, try and build everything out with a container. With containers, drag a vertical, drag a blank into that vertical. Then you can add in your stuff on top. So I'm actually going to put our sheet down here. Then I'm going to put a horizontal on top of that. Take my blank that was here, put that in here, and now I can just do a text box, and I'll call this total orders. Drag another text box, percent of orders. Drag another text box, total sales, drag our final text box, and do average sales per order. And that's not quite lined up, but we can just drag this blank over to what kind of looks good, right? There we go. Then we'll add our dashboard title. I think I added a little bit too much padding here, so we'll go back here. Let's drag that up. Yeah, it's not. Let's do 5 maybe. Yeah, let's just get rid of it all. Why not? There we go. All right, so there you go. And then you can add your title, and you're off to the races. Yeah, so bring that over here. Wow, 2023, week 2. Can you visualize orders? And the answer to that question is an emphatic yes, we can, right? Yes, we can. Just like that. So there you go. So that's how you do that. Hope you enjoyed it. And can you explain again why tiled containers are not recommended? Yes, absolutely, Tim. Thank you. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's add some more sheets. I'm just going to go and create a few sheets here. We'll do segment by sales. We'll do a map. Since we've got the time, right? This one took pretty. We'll add a map here. When did they add Canada in here? I'm not mad about it. I don't recall that ever being in there. Sure adds another layer of complexity, especially considering all of those Superstore dashboards out there that don't have a that don't have a country filter on there. So, all right. So we'll do that, and then we'll do sales. Or how about average sales per order? Since that was kind of fun. Ooh, look at that. That changed a little bit. That way, not Texas and California and New York get all the love. All right, so I've added additional sheets. Let's go back to our dashboard, and let's just build this out as a tiled dashboard. And I'll first, right? If I wanted to, obviously I want my map to be big. Right? I'll leave everything out here, right? So then we'll have, and then we'll put everything down, and then we'll do this, right? So, and then we'll do sheet 2 is like right here, right? And it's like, okay, but I want, so now, here's where it is, right? Here's where we're at. So now what we want to do is we want to have our, let's see, we want to have our legends, right? I want this legend to be in, I want this legend, right? If I had it and it made sense, I want it to be next to this sheet. And this could be not a legend. This could be parameters, filters, something that you want in this area, right? If I want to put this object in this area of this sheet, let's see what options I have. I can drop it here and it would immediately split the difference. Well, that doesn't look very right. I could do it here. That doesn't look very right, right? So it just kind of, so you kind of have to think about, it takes a lot more planning to do that, right? It takes a lot more, you know, you just got to think about, you just got to plan out it more. And you can see it just takes more. And then all of a sudden, let's say you're doing this and then you add a new sheet that you want added to this dashboard. Then you've got to figure out where it goes and then how tiled kind of fits into there. Where if you learn to use containers and learn to use them efficiently, all of your worries with dashboarding will go away. Especially as you start creating more and more complex dashboards. Containers are absolutely the way to go. So yeah, and that's there are lots of great tutorials out there about containers and how to use them, how to understand them, and how to use them to your best ability. Additionally, I was gonna say no. I think yeah, they are kind of, they will be, yeah. So. So never mind about that last part. But yeah, so anyway, that's why tiled isn't great. Right? So so we don't want this. Also, you can't control the height of this, right? So obviously I put this in here, but I don't want it this big. So I might do it, I might kind of bring it up like this, and I might kind of bring this one over here like this, right? And kind of get it that way. Right? But, as you kind of, if you were to add additional colors or additional legends out here, like, you don't have as much control over spacing and stuff like that. So, use containers, learn to love containers, or float anything. Don't use tiled. Cool. All right. I think that just about wraps it up, unless there are any other questions. Let's see. What else is going on today? Oh, today is the last day to fill out nominations for visionaries. So please take a moment and nominate those in the community who inspire you, teach you, push you, those kinds of things. The leaders of this community, nominate them. If that is a goal of yours, I'm a big proponent of advocating for yourself. There is no shame in raising your hand and saying, I want to be this. Tableau does look at every single nomination, and it does kind of, if it's something that you want to be in the future, it will put a spotlight. They will start paying attention. So something to think about. But also, obviously, use this time to nominate those in the data fam who are great. So I have a few more that I'm finishing up later today. So excited to do that. So with that, thank you so much. Appreciate everyone sticking around and learning how to add some visuals into your tables. And everybody loves a table, and you can't get away from tables. But by using the placeholder method, you can add some visualizations into your tables. So try it out, see how it goes. Wow your stakeholders, and I bet you'll be able to get some good stuff. So, yes, I am. So, Sebastian, I saw your questions. Said I was going to come back to them. First question: more healthcare-related visuals, potentially. It's always in the backlog. I've got a backlog of hundreds. I have transitioned out of the healthcare industry. I'm doing more consulting right now. But certainly have some. I've certainly got some healthcare ideas. Just need to find some good data sets to do that. So be on the lookout. Never say never, but whatever you need, reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to help you. And then to your last question, yes. I've got some publishing to do, and I will be putting those out as videos on my YouTube. So just be on the lookout for that. So got some editing to do on some of that stuff. So cool. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And with that, as always, go forth and viz.